Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. Hello everyone, welcome to Imprint. I'm so excited to have you here today because today's episode is going to be a little bit different and I'm going to be taking you on a personal journey. But first, I want to share why. Why do I feel compelled to share this episode? Why do I feel compelled to share this? It's because just yesterday I had a conversation with a good friend who's a colleague of sorts. We have very similar businesses. We've connected across the oceans, and she asked me a question because I was putting something to her that I'm trying to work through. And she asked me a really powerful question, which we're going to get to. And I have been contemplating that ever since. And I've been doing lots of exercises on it. And I want to share where I have come to with this. But first, I just want to give you a little bit of a background because you might be thinking, well, what is this all about? So as some of you will know who are longtime listeners of the podcast, I recently sold my business Imprint House. And this has been a huge transition for me. I mean, on the one hand, it's a process that has happened over a number of months. It's almost, kind of a year in totality by the time, we've kind of gone through this big transition. And so, it's the sort of thing that, it doesn't happen in an instant. There are a series of different milestones that you go through. But what has happened on the other side is that it has created a little bit of a vacuum. And while I have many things on my plate and, I don't necessarily need to add something new to what I'm doing, it has really created this pause in my life of what do I want this next chapter to be? Now, to give you a little bit more context around this, there have been some other sort of big milestones that I have reached as well. And some of those have happened even in just this past month. On April 1st, it was the 7-year anniversary of This Is Home in Australia, and it was the global anniversary on April 7. It was also the 5-year anniversary of this podcast on April 28, which is just wild to think of because I just can't even believe that it's been 5 years, which means that it's coming up to the 5-year anniversary of my book still. And I'm also coming up to the 7-year anniversary of the Styling Masterclass, which has been, such a huge part of my life for this chapter. And my husband and I were talking about this idea of 7-year cycles. And I feel like there were a lot of things that happened to me around 7 years ago. Like I said, launching This Is Home, launching the Styling Masterclass, that quickly followed up with working on my second book. And there were a lot of shifts around that time. And we feel like we're entering a new phase. And I've been really sort of feeling a little bit lost, but I don't think that that is a negative thing. And so if you're going through maybe your own 7-year cycle or you're feeling a little bit lost, I want you to know, first of all, you are definitely not alone in this. And I've been speaking to many other people, and I think that, we are as well within the world. There's been a lot of transition, a lot of change. And, I think that a lot of people are starting to question, what is it that we're doing? How are we living? What is most important? And what are our next steps forward? And so, I have really been contemplating all of these questions for myself, and maybe you have too. And I've been seeking counsel in all sorts of places as well. I've been having conversations with friends. I have been speaking to mentors. I've been speaking to colleagues. And as I mentioned at the start, I was speaking to someone who's a good friend and also a colleague. And I was talking about, my next steps. What are the things that I'm going to do next? And feeling a little bit uncertain about what that is and reflecting on, what are some of the things that I've been doing? What do I want to keep holding on to? What do I want to let go of? And she asked me a question that was really powerful for me. And it really was something that I didn't expect. And I'll give you a little bit of context for this question. So I was talking about, some of the things that I've been doing since finishing with Imprint House, and, what my business looks like, some of the back end elements of my business and my life. And she said to me, "Is your heart in it?" And I thought, wow, that's actually a question that I haven't asked myself. I don't know if ever, certainly not in that way, and certainly not in relation to my business. And I have, for many years, created just what has felt right, but I haven't necessarily asked that particular question. And I have been much more, I guess, strategic in more recent years because I've had a team and I've had to sort of be really effective and efficient with how I've spent my time and really focusing on the data and the numbers and getting really analytical with my business. And I think that all of those are good and important things. But I do feel that I have perhaps been leaning more onto that and less thinking about, where is my heart in all of this? And it is a question that is kind of ironic because for this year, my word in my personal life has been joy. And I have certainly wanted to experience and feel more joy in my life because I don't know if it's because I'm approaching 50 and, maybe there is a lot of things stirring up inside me because of that. But, I feel that life has become quite complicated and quite complex and quite serious and heavy. And I think back to, me as someone in my 20s and even sort of early 30s. And I do feel like I was in general a lot more joyful, a lot more fun. And it's like, what happened? Where has that person gone? I used to love dancing and partying and having fun, and I was really social. And I just had this sort of, I guess, more levity to who I was. And whereas now I feel like I'm kind of got so much responsibility and, and there is, there's a sense of satisfaction with that. Like I enjoy achieving things and I enjoy setting my mind to something and I enjoy completing something and having something to show for my time and my effort. And, there are so many different layers to this, but I just thought, wow, like I haven't thought about, is my heart into this? And it got me really thinking after we finished speaking. And I thought about, what would make this more fun? What would make my life more fun? What would make my business more fun? How can I inject some of that joy that I'm really striving for in my personal life? How can I inject that into my business? Because in quite honestly, in relation to, say, my personal life, certainly in relation to my home life, I have been experiencing a lot of joy. And I actually, after I had this conversation with my friend, I actually went for a drive. And because I find that driving is it's a time to have quiet time. I didn't have any music on. I didn't listen to anything, no podcasts, no audiobooks. And I just drove in silence. And I drove to a local beach that I like to go to because you can get a parking spot right out the front, sit in your car, and just watch the waves, and I can just write in my journal, and I don't have to worry about the wind or any of those things. I don't have to worry about the rain because there's been quite a bit of rain recently. And I can just really have a moment to myself and really think. And so I started to create a list of, what brings me joy in my life. And I thought I would share some of the things that I wrote down on this list. And I really encourage you, if you're feeling a bit disconnected or if you're feeling like you maybe have lost your way or there's a vacuum in your life or things are feeling heavy right now, I really encourage you to just write a list. And I actually quite easily started to write 50 things. And these are, they're just such silly things. They're such little things, but these are things that just are those beautiful little moments of life. And so for me, these are some of the things that bring me joy. Seeing my daughter play soccer, watching waves crash on the beach, watching my daughters cook together. They made dumplings last night. Listening to my daughter sing. She's got the most beautiful voice. Seeing my son solve maths problems. He's trying to solve this math problem. Apparently there's a French university that they've got 7 maths problems and you can get $1 million if you solve one of them. So anyway, he's been working on one of those. Watching my other son prep food, like when he does it, like he sprinkles like herbs on the top, like he's a chef, like, and he's only 8 years old. I just love watching the expression on his face. Seeing our dog Vivi tilting her head. So if you say you want food, and she just tilts her head, and it's so cute. Traveling with my husband Daniel, dancing, listening to good music, thinking of my dad, connecting with like minds, walking with my friends, a lazy Sunday, thoughtful packaging. I just couldn't believe that popped into my head, that actually brings me joy, and it actually does. Stretching my body. I have got a Jimny, which is a type of car. It's a little Suzuki car. And whenever I drive past another Suzuki, like the drivers often wave to each other. And I love that. Like it just gives me so much joy, the fact that we wave to each other when we drive. I think it's fun. Children's laughter, childhood memories, kindness, seeing my sons at the workshop together, lying in a patch of sunlight on my bed with a good book. So that's just kind of a few things that when I started to write down, like what brings me joy, those were the things that really make me bring joy. And so it was very apparent to me that there are a lot of things in, my personal life, in my day-to-day life that bring me joy. And, and that was a lovely experience to go through that. And I sort of felt but there are some things that I want to bring more joy back to the work that I do, the contribution that I make. And I heard an analogy recently about the Wheel of Life concept. And so this was originally developed by Paul J. Meyer, who's, a pioneer in the personal development space. I think he's this is from like the 1960s, I believe. And it's become a coaching tool to visualize your life as a circle or a wheel divided into segments like health, relationships, career, finances, personal growth, home environment, fun, and spirituality. And the idea is that if one area is off balance or neglected, the wheel becomes uneven and it makes it harder to move forward smoothly. Now, obviously, we can't necessarily have all areas of our life in, complete balance all the time. And, I think many of us have spoken about this idea of like, sometimes you got to lean into more one thing than another thing. And, definitely for me, I feel that this past quarter, these past 3 months of this year, I've definitely been leaning more into family. There has been, much more going on. I mean, my Saturdays are basically completely devoted to driving one of my daughters to her soccer games, which are an hour and a half away each way. And I love that. Like, I love being in the car with her. We listen to music, or we listen to a podcast about soccer players, or I go and watch her play soccer. We talk about the game. And I love having that time with her. So it is something that definitely brings me joy. But obviously, that's a huge chunk of time. And then, I want to spend time with my other children for the rest of the weekend or on other days. And, they are older and need me in a different way. And so I have been spending a lot of time with my children in, sort of quite deep ways, which I've really been enjoying. But now I need to find, and I'm really sort of looking to discover, how can I find that joy that I've spoken about in relation to my business? And so I was reflecting on what are the things, what feels like fun when it comes to what I do and when it comes to my work. And one of the first things that came to mind is my work as a stylist. And when I have stepped into people's homes, and that thing of pulling pieces from different rooms or raiding cupboards and drawers and finding like a vase that someone had completely forgotten about, or, switching things around so that, maybe a chair is in a different spot, or I rearrange the room in some way, or I create a different edit with objects that are on a mantelpiece or a sideboard, and how people will step into that space and the kind of reaction that I see on their faces. And they kind of look around in this wonder of like, wow, like this looks so amazing. Like, I can't believe this is my home. And often it is me using what is already in their home. It's not having to go out and buy new stuff. It is really about being thoughtful about what is in each space and making each little space within the home, curated and thoughtful and tie together with the whole of the space as well. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I forgot that I had that. Or, wow, I'd never thought to put that piece there. And it's so wonderful to see that reaction. And I just love how much we can really change the feel of a space in such a relatively short period of time. And yet, just like we can feel stuck in our homes or stuck in our lives, we can also get stuck in our homes, and we can stop seeing them, and we can stop, connecting with them in a way that actually freshens things up. And so I was thinking about that, and I was reflecting on that experience and how also that applies to when I work with design clients as well. And I've had many people come and want to work with me. And often when they do, they have got, builders or trades about to show up at the door. They are, swimming in overwhelm because of all the decisions that they need to make. And I will come in, and in a relatively short period of time, I can help them create a lighting plan and lighting selections that are really beautiful. They're cohesive. There's a visual thread throughout the home. And, where they were kind of going around with a million different options, I can quite quickly contain that and make that into a selection that feels good for them, and it's like, oh, like I feel like I've had this huge weight lifted because I can now see how all of those elements tie together, and they just couldn't quite see that. And something else that I was thinking about when I was reflecting on, like what brings me joy when I do my work relates to as well being able to step into spaces. And I really feel that, we all have a gift that is unique to us. And I feel like one of the gifts that I have been given is to really be able to see spaces. And what I mean by this is I can step into any home and I can see the potential of that home. I can see what's possible for that home, and I can see how it can function better, how it can, become more beautiful, more elevated. And like I said, sometimes it's about editing away things. Sometimes it's about rearranging things, and other times it might be about making cosmetic changes. I mean, we have personally lived in several homes where we haven't undergone necessarily large scale renovations, but through some careful editing, through some simple choices, painting cupboards, pulling up carpets, installing a few key elements, it has really completely transformed the look and the feel of a space and made it look, much more elegant and elevated than necessarily what we've spent in terms of money on the space, but it has really lifted it. And so, I feel that that is something that comes to me because I come to creating homes from a space of, and from a mix and a blend of my skills that relate to styling. So that's, this ability to really work with what I've got that is in front of me, but also curating and learning how to, maybe bring in a few select pieces or edit out a few select pieces. And also through my design work, and whether that's through clients or on my own personal journeys. And so one of the ideas that it literally came to me as I was driving back from having written this exercise, I've written all these ideas about what are the things that bring me joy, was this idea of, stepping into someone's home. And I've done this virtually as well. So it's not always necessarily something that needs to happen in a physical way, but stepping into somebody's home and being able to see, oh, yeah, with this space, you could widen the hallway here, or make it a little bit more narrow, or add some shelves for the kids to put, their objects there, add some hooks there, put a light there. You create a sense of flow from this space to that space. That comes really easily to me. And it comes, quickly as well. It's something that I don't need to think about for a long time. Like I can see it. And I've never actually watched this film. There's a film called The Sixth Sense, and I don't know why it keeps coming into my mind when I think of this idea. But in that movie, apparently there was always like a clip, and it's probably a meme. But he would say, like, I see dead people. And I know that sounds like a really strange thing to say, but it's like, I see homes. Like I can step into a home and I can see them. I can see the potential of them. It's almost like a supernatural sense of how they should be, how they should function, what they should look like. And so as I was driving home, I thought about this idea of being able to see spaces. And I thought it's like being a house whisperer, that I can go into a space. And like I said, it can be in person or virtually, and I can really get a sense of how to really bring forth like the best elements of this space and make it function for every family and make it function for every person. And it doesn't matter, if that person or that client is someone who is, maybe a bit more edgy, and, they're kind of into like industrial type things or punk style or whatever. Like I can channel my filter through them to get to where they want to go, but I can see the potential in spaces, and I can just really, really quickly envision something. So I can walk into a space and I can see what it can look like finished pretty much instantly. I just need a few clues from the home owner, or if it's me, then I put it through my own filter and I get to that spot very, very quickly. And I think perhaps because as well, I'm constantly stalking real estate websites, and, I love kind of stepping into homes and imagining them. And we have moved so many times. I've probably moved 30 times in my life. And so I've lived in all sorts of homes, and my mum has moved a lot. I mean, she moves on average every 3 years as well. So she's her late 70s. So that gives you an idea of how many homes she's lived in. And, we're always discussing homes and renovating and, making improvements and all of those sort of things. So like I said, just by going through this exercise of, first of all, giving myself the white space and not listening to anything. I know obviously you're listening to the podcast right now, but maybe you can give yourself some white space and create your own list of what brings you joy. And then think about that in relation to any of the areas of your life that you feel that on your wheel is maybe a little bit out of balance and that you're not experiencing that joy. And that you can then think about, if it's in relation to your business or what you want to do with your life, you can really channel into, what feels like joy for you, what feels like it's coming from your heart, what feels like fun, what feels like fun in your business and enjoyable and deeply satisfying. And so that can be different things for me in different ways. I mean, of course, I've got my, business clients that I mentor and I coach, and I love that. And that is deeply satisfying. But I've still got this creative side that is always a part of me. And I feel like I haven't nurtured that in a while. And I really am feeling this deep connection with connecting to that. And I've also started writing again because it's just been kind of coming out of me in these like random moments. And I have to quickly grab my phone and start like typing with my thumbs as quickly as I can while the words and the ideas are kind of spilling out. So my encouragement with you today is to really find what feels like joy for you, what feels like fun. And just to kind of, I guess, tie a bow on this, the idea that I came with when I had gone through this exercise and I was driving home in the silence and thinking about, what brings me joy, was to actually create a service whereby, and I've never done this before, whereby I can help you with your home for one day, for the container of one day. Now that one day, it looks like there's an initial assessment, then there is spending time with you, workshopping through certain things, and then there is a follow-up. And so in total, it is one day. And I just got inspired to call it the House Whispering Service, because I feel like that is my skill. That beautifully brings together these different elements of what I can help you with in terms of seeing the potential of a space. And it could be a project that you're about to build. It could be a renovation that you're midway through. It could be that you're in a creative rut with your home. It could just be helping you to physically come in and help you restyle your home, or do that virtually. It could be so many different things in relation to your design projects. And like I say, I feel that this ability that I have, if you're struggling to see the potential or see beyond the roadblocks or see beyond the kind of the many decisions that you need to make, that is something that I can help you get unstuck with. And it is something that I can do quickly and really give you that confidence to move forward with clarity on your project going forward. So I have now introduced that onto my website. And if you are curious to learn more about that, if that sounds like something that you would need, because like I say, it is amazing how much we can achieve in a relatively short period of time. And that kind of going around in circles and thinking, oh, how can I ever get beyond this? Then this is a way that you can do that. So I just wanted to quickly let you know, for anyone who might be interested in this, I have added a new section to my website as part of this kind of like reconnecting with those elements that I'm really excited to help you with. And it's called Work With Me. So there is a tab on the top of my website called Work With Me. And I've never done this before. Previously, the main ways that you've been able to work with me has been through my programs, but now there is the opportunity to work with me in some one-to-one ways. And so I have got sort of two streams. One is for your business. So for your business, I have introduced a one-to-one mentorship program, which I'm really excited for those of you who are looking for that one-on-one support and really having that accountability and working on a specific roadblock or problem or something that you're wanting to launch or put out into the world, then that might be for you. I've also got a power hour focus session, and this can be for your business, or it can also be for any kind of creative direction that you're needing help with. And then now this new service, which is called the House Whisperer service. And this is, like I say, it's a 1-day container of session. And this is, like I say, I'm going to do a sort of initial diagnosis of your space and your project and what you're trying to achieve. Then we will come together and work through that side by side. And I will be bringing my, unique eye and ability to see through the problems, and then bringing the solution to you in terms of your next best steps and resources to help support you in that. So if you're curious about these, go take a look at nataliewalton.com/work with me. We will put the links to all of those things in the show notes. And like I said, I really want you to think about, if you're feeling stuck right now, think about, is my heart in this? What would this look like if it were fun? And, how can I bring more joy to what I do? I hope that this has been, helpful for you wherever you are on your journey. As always, I love to hear from you. And I would really appreciate, this has kind of been a little bit left field, this episode, but it's me sharing what I'm working through right now. And I hope that it has connected with you in a way that has helped you wherever you are right now. Thank you so much for listening. I always appreciate you being here with me today. If you've got anyone that you know who is stuck, please share this episode with them. And as always, it's really appreciated if you can leave a review or a quick 5-star rating as well. That makes this podcast possible. So until we meet again, hopefully same time next week, go get creative, go find some joy, and go make your mark. All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.